All right. Good morning and welcome to our channel. Today, we're going to be discussing some housing authorities and some very naughty behavior. I want to start with something that I'm going to coin as my own term, and that would be that the first mistake that most people make is confusing what the housing authority is supposed to do and what they actually do. And that reality can be rather cold and even stark when you think about it all. The second thing that I'm going to bring up is simply this. I'm going to advise for this video that there may be a few profanities, as the content itself does elicit emotion for most people when they hear the realities of dealing with housing authorities and some of the behaviors that may go on behind doors. Also, want to say that I'm not specifically targeting any specific housing authority, but the content of this has already been kind of reported, and I think it's important. So, a few introductions. My name is Jay. I am the owner of Section8Consulting.com. I'm widely known as one of the best consultants in the nation when it comes to helping people navigate housing. I probably made more videos than any other creator on the subject matter, and I'm widely known for being able to help people navigate, get housing, get vouchers, and solve other situations that may arise with landlords and so on. We put some of our critical company information in the video, in the description, so on, if you're definitely struggling with that process or you have questions that seem to be unanswered. All right, moving on into this. So another housing authority caught running a scam. And so I won't say that Little Rock Housing Authority has been running a scam, but I will present the facts and then let you as the audience, determine whether or not misconduct, fraud, and complete and utter mismanagement are taking place. Now, this isn't uncommon. I mean, as you know, you type in the words housing authority and lawsuit, you'll find probably 100 pages on Google regarding this matter. LDC had almost an 82-point, what virtually appeared to be an indictment by HUD itself for the DC office. And it's also important to remember, guys, housing authorities are not HUD. HUD is a federal agency that issues money to housing authorities. Housing authorities are commonly privately owned, or they're run by a city, so that they're not federal employees at a housing authority. These are two different things, okay? Moving on from that, I want to go over the facts. So let's talk about this case real quick, and I'm going to give you all the information that will be required for you to make that determination. So a damaging report was issued to the Little Rock Public Housing Authority by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development on Friday, which identifies lapses in management and flagged millions of dollars in potentially improper spending. And I'm going to tell you what that improper spending is, and then you guys let me know. The report found that the housing authority appears to be in substantial default of an agreement with HUD known as the Annual Contributions Contract, and will be referred for further review and potential enforcement actions. And to say that lightly, if there are specific actors at the housing authorities, and again, when you see the financials, when I tell you the financials, we're really going to get into juicy with that, right? I'm going to get real deep in that part. So factors such as the housing authority, by the way, guys, I just want to say one thing. I see you guys commenting. I'm going to address those comments, but be fair with me, because I'm like every other human. I can get sidetracked in comments. So just hold off. I've only got about 10 paragraphs we're going to cover. And then after that, we can go back and forth in the live chat. So factors such as the housing authority's financial management, expenses, transfers, and funds have led to reasonable concerns that there has been a complete breakdown in internal controls. The internal quality control process are either non-existent or not followed. In other words, we're absolutely in the face of federal policy, just doing whatever the hell we want. How many times have I discussed this in 1,000 videos that many of you believe, like most federal agencies, maybe we're discussing the Treasury or maybe the U.S. Army, that you believe when you're a first timer into this and you're dealing with housing, that these people are there to do prayer circles, hold your hand, and give you a voucher. But the reality of what it is pretty stark. And a lot of you, when you reach out, you don't understand why you're talked to like a prostitute on 3rd Street. You don't understand why everything is denied and not approved, why the process is so hellish, and why your worker talks to you like trash. Now, I'm not suggesting that every housing authority in America does that, but I think that most of you have had similar experiences with many of them. So let's get on with the financials here. The report listed a total of $30 million of HUD, what HUD describes as questioned or potentially disallowed expenses. Now, if I took my $30 million credit card and I worked at the housing authority and I decided I was going to go to Macy's or Macy's.com and I want to go and get the new Gucci slippers, or maybe I need a $9,000 leather sofa, they have 30 million. Now, this is Little Rock, okay? Arkansas. We're not talking about New York, right? So $30 million is almost the entire budget being spent on who knows what, because nobody's reporting anything. We're simply walking around with a checkbook and a credit card, doing whatever the fuck you want. So let me tell you why I'm saying that. The debt owed by the housing authority to the Housing Choice Voucher Program, again, was the disallowed expenses and what was expected to increase. Roughly $20.5 million in housing assistance payments, that's people's vouchers, were flagged as part of a potential debt owed because of a late participation in reexaminations and housing inspections. For those landlords wondering why nobody ever shows up to evaluate your property and why you as a voucher holder cannot seem to ever get an annual inspection, it's 2022, but nobody's bothered to put on their house slippers to walk out that housing authority to go and actually do an inspection of your property. So you don't even know what you owe in rent and what's changed for your annual inspection. So let's get further on in this. HUD's review team flagged close to 5.9 million. Now, here's the exasperating part of this. Again, we're not talking about New York and LA. Look at the obscene amount of money here that we're talking about. 30 million. This is Little Rock. The entire state has only about 500,000 people live there. This place is burning through cash like a drug dealer. The team reviewed and flagged close to 5.9 million in operation funds and approximately 2.2 million in capital funds that were transferred from the housing authority to Central Arkansas Housing Corporation. Corporation means private, not the city. Corporation, an associated development nonprofit. You heard me correctly, a nonprofit. Why the hell do we need $8 million to a nonprofit? Does anybody write checks to the church for $8 million? So the review team also identified $288,000 in bank transfers from the housing authority to a nonprofit earlier this year that lacked sufficient documentation, or maybe there was none. Those cash, now here's the key word, those cash transfers. So Sally walked out of the housing authority in her house slippers and took $105,000 in cash, no receipt book, and that was transferred over 3 occasions in March. They say transfer. Transfer means dollars in one hand to dollars in another hand. Okay? Cash. Does that sound like we were operating a snowball stand? Is it a casino? Where the fuck is this money? Additionally, officials flagged another $166,000 paid by the housing authority on behalf of a nonprofit, another $277,000 in loan extensions. Another way to look at that, loan extensions means misconduct. Why do we say it's misconduct? Because it's professional misconduct. We're unable to sufficiently do our job and actually pay the bills on time. So we're paying. What are we doing? We're not giving out extra vouchers because we're paying for loan extensions. Nobody seems to understand what's going on in that office, but it gets even better. And so the payout apparently was made with restricted housing choice voucher funds. So they didn't pay out of their own piggy bank in the housing authority. They pulled it from the pool of money that was specifically designed for your vouchers in Arkansas. Now we're bringing into question as to whether or not people with vouchers there are even going to have the money to pay the rent. The part they're supposed to agree to. You don't. So when you start stealing money from different accounts that are designed to do a specific thing, and you steal it from them, who's going to pay that back? They don't have the money to do it. HUD officials found over 33,000 in questionable or disallowed costs between January 2022 and January 2023, following a general review of an American Express credit card statements. The review revealed what appears to be a regular and habitual utilization of credit cards for ineligible purposes. Let me tell you something, partner. Ineligible, that's a really, really sweet and churchy way of putting that. How about we use the fucking credit card for things that were not part of the housing authority? How about a steak dinner? How about a trip to the tropical island? How about fucking Starbucks? So, though I cannot see the ineligible, but here's what we're doing. We're using that credit card as a personal piggy bank. Okay. The housing authority's overall cash position is currently indeterminable. And here's where it's fixing to get real nasty, because what in the end I'm going to say here is going to stun you. So the overall cash position is currently indeterminable, the report says. However, it is not unreasonable to conclude the housing authority is either insolvent or in the verge of insolvency. The housing authority is basically bankrupt. That is the end. My friends, and many of you that listen to me, here's the dangerous path and the same dark path that I've seen so many housing authorities go on. Now we've got a housing authority. There's no way to go make more money. The money comes from HUD. These people have mismanaged. And I'm going to tell you something. If this ain't fraud, if this is not a scam, then I don't know what is. Now, this article actually was written by a news agency, and I pulled some excerpts from it, okay? But let me tell you something. There are a lot of people that could potentially now become homeless, that are going to have evictions because of this fucking mess. And when I warned you guys about you dealing with housing authorities and you didn't understand why those people treat you badly, but yet when you drove through McDonald's and the young girl that gave you a cheeseburger that morning is the same woman that's working your case at noon at the housing authority. And now you fucking understand why nobody knows what's going on. Nobody's being paid to do anything. And we've got $30 million in misspent monies. Probably people are going to get indicted, arrested, and potentially end up in a federal court over this. And ultimately, the housing authority itself could collapse, and probably is imminently going to collapse. Okay, I don't want to speculate, but I think we all know where this leads, right? And so, do you not think, guys? When I offer services out here as a consultant to you guys, oh no, well, I don't need you, Jay. I don't need your services. I'm just going to go down to the housing authority, and I'm going to get one of those professionals. And then you don't understand why you can't get what you need, while there's no money there. And so that's a big problem. But, another thing that we should consider here is that this likely will roll over into a bigger issue. And I think that there's going to have to be a reorganization, and whatever funds are left that may be able to sustain, and maybe HUD will step in as a federal agency to potentially rescue this place. So there needs to be a rescue plan in place. But if the feds are unable to determine whether or not the place is insolvent, we're in crisis mode with that place. And so are the people that virtually use all subsidies and programs at this point in that area. Now, this is only one that's been caught. You know how many housing authorities in America right now are run by a little old lady in a little house? Not every housing authority's got a building. Many towns and counties around America, housing authorities are in just little old houses indiscriminately placed in the neighborhood. Not everything's professionally run, but see, now you understand why this whole system is convoluted. Yeah, it does produce results. People do get vouchers, and I know our office works to help people too navigate the system. But now you start to see the reality of what you think is professionally run, and why things don't ever really seem to get done, why you're being treated badly, and it just exposes the whole thing, really. All right, I'm going to go into the comments here real quick. I'm about to scroll back. There are a lot of them. Linda Sanders, yes, our office in Mississippi had the same serious problem at one time, not doing it there. Jobs, right, not uncommon at all. Thank you, Linda, and good morning. Auntie Pee-wee, I tell you what, that's the interesting name of the day. I love good, interesting YouTube names. I thank you. I'm in LA, California. I got a lot of information from you. I'm now in a big, beautiful one-bedroom, very nice area in the valley. Well, Auntie Pee-wee, I am very happy for you, especially that you were able to get through that system out in Los Angeles. Many of you may know that Los Angeles and Orange County were some of the toughest areas in the nation. So, all right, Tears of a Clown. Okay, well, look, good morning to you as well. You won the second most interesting YouTube of the name of the day. Joey Fair, looks like one of your comments were retracted by YouTube, guys. Though I'm known for my very heated videos and rampage of profanities occasionally. It looks like you may have said something that YouTube didn't like, but and they retracted it. Clearly, I'm not sitting here with a mouse blocking anybody, so I'll let you know that, Joey Fur. Tears of the Clown. The Housing Authority is doing the same thing. This is not unsurprising. I've been trying to tell you guys, and you think just because the Housing Authority is a Housing Authority, a lot of you believe they're there in your best interest and they're doing the proper things, and you can't figure out why they've denied your portability. You can't figure out why they keep raising rents to different prices, but there's no logic. And when you ask for proof for them to prove why they're going up or down, you can't get that proof. Why you having an annual inspection, but yet it's almost 2 years later, and then all of a sudden you're stunned with an eviction because technically the rent changed. Nobody notified you. You can't understand why the Housing Authority has snipped the phone line and never answers the fucking phone, and why their email always never seems to get a response. Why it would take the Housing Authority and its employees, why they're unable to answer even the most fundamental or even basic questions. You know, this video explains that as a whole. There are lots of housing authorities that run really well, that are very professional, but there's even a greater number of them that are running this like it's 1820, the Wild West. And I've seen a significant problems across the East Coast, parts of the West Coast, and especially the South. Okay, and I'm a Southerner. I'm from Louisiana, but I've also lived in Texas an equal amount of time, so I'm to some degree a Cajun cowboy. Yeah. Tears goes on to say, our housing authority is doing the same thing. It's true. Oh, I can guarantee it. I don't need to invent anything. This was published by HUD itself. All I'm doing is pulling the juiciest part of the juiciest burger off the grill and delivering it right to your plate, because I want you guys to see. I've had to argue with clients before as to whether or not their best interests were served by them or my company. And most people realize that very quickly, that your interests are not always served by what the housing authority is trying to do for you. So Tears goes on, what if people need housing? Well, that's always going to be an issue. I mean, we clearly have people that are going to retire, they get old, they get disabled. We got former doctors that may be disabled. We got former lawyers that may be bankrupt. Look, the vast majority of people that need help really need it, you know? And so if you need help, you're supposed to reach out to the housing authority. If the housing authority does you bad, I would recommend getting somebody like myself or my company in your corner, because nobody really wants to wait 8 to 15 years for a voucher. And then even when you deal with the housing authority, you may not even get a straight answer in most respects. But that's what happens when you hire a 13-year-old from McDonald's that's handing you an Egg McMuffin at noon. They're now your caseworker. They've got 500 cases. And unfortunately, they will not be able to answer your question for a month. By then, you'll have 58,000 further questions. That's why I spend so much time. How do I, when I deal with policies, procedures, operations manuals, when you deal with Code of Federal Regulation, Title 24, housing-related issues. And then also we get a great deal of information from Nana McKay that underwrites the policies and procedures, former housing authority employees, attorneys, and other relationships to different professional organizations, including HUD-BASH and COC or CES system. So all that combined efforts allows me to be able to answer a lot of questions with a fairly high amount of accuracy for what I do. Moving on from there, Tears going to have a huge problem here. I'm trying to help a few disabled elderly people now. I congratulate you, Tears, for showing so much generosity and helping those that need that help. Auntie Pee-wee says, sounds more criminal than the ones on the streets. Yes, this video in principle, in my opinion, when we started the video and we discussed what was potentially happened, and then I told y'all what the evidence was. Now, this evidence is coming from HUD, the feds, right? Once we see the evidence, though it was gently said, I think we all know what the expected outcome is. There probably will be indictments. There will be people probably going to go to jail or prison over it, and it probably will land on national news eventually. This is like mini pots. We think of housing authorities as pots. Many of them are at the boiling point. It only takes a small thing to snap. And the fact that this one actually ran the fraud all the way to the point of insolvency, at this point, we don't even know. The way they're moving money right now would indicate that they've run out of all the money. And the only thing they can do now is to dip into the bigger fund, which would be for the vouchers. Once you start dipping into that, they burn the credit cards and all the rest. It would indicate they're likely almost insolvent. The good news may be if there's enough money left in the voucher program to pay for people's rent, then they may be stabilized. And of course, I do believe that Marissa Fudge, that runs HUD, will step in, and the federal agency HUD itself will step in, and they'll probably fix this, probably remove all the actors from the housing authority and probably shut down most of it. I think they would figure out a way to probably, it really wouldn't surprise me if the FBI didn't show up over there at that housing authority and then probably seize most of everything they've got and then manage it temporarily till they can get the appropriate people in place to take over, depending on what's happened. But we only have light facts, but they're pretty big ones, right? Again, those are big numbers, $30 to $50 million spent on things that have, and when you say inappropriate, it means not for the housing authority. If we have cash values leaving, we're going to the ATM with the card and we're taking out $100,000, and we're handing that off to nonprofits, and we're not doing any receipts or records, would indicate to me there's a very strong insolvency for this place, and they're likely bankrupt to the point of the administrative side. But I still believe there is a pool of money that they have not absorbed yet. But yeah, this thing looks like it's on its last leg. Same thing happened over a very similar thing happened in DC office, but it was misconduct of violations of people's fair rights, civil rights, and other issues. It wasn't so much insolvency for DC, but they had 82 points levied against them. Then they call them points, but we all know that was more or less an indictment. If they had to remove the entire board for DC office. So this is the problem, HUD can't oversee everybody, but apparently this scam's run on for quite a while. But I'll let you guys decide whether it's a scam. I think it is, but let's see what happens. If there's a for sale sign out there and it's under new management, then we'll know. If they burned all their capital, which would appear as that's what's happened, then that's what's going to happen. Guys, so wrapping this video up and say this. Be careful in dealing with housing authorities, okay? Your livelihood depends on the percentages you're getting in those vouchers. If workers or caseworkers are not acting in an ethical or manner, and they're not professional misconduct's going down, you're having those issues. You're questioning whether or not your rents are actually being calculated correctly. Some of your rents are actually sent out and going to a subcontractor. It doesn't mean that those people are calculating those numbers right. If you suspect things are going on with your case, it would be appropriate to reach out to HUD or a consultant, at least somebody, to be sure. Because I just proved to you, I just showed you guys by virtue of just this, okay, that a lot of what's going on is a lack of training. Sometimes it's almost criminal what they're doing. And in other cases, professional misconduct and other things. And so it's not your imagination. I want to let a lot of you know that. I know a lot of your clients do suffer from different physical ailments. Some suffer from mental health issues. In a lot of cases, what you got is it's not all in your head. A lot of what you guys are suspecting, and many that call my office and have suspect things are going on, it's not, I'm just telling you, man, it is not, it's not just in your head. It's reality. A lot of it is reality. Out of all the people that call me, I would say only about 10% of the cases are actually because the client may be suffering from extreme mental health issues where they may be paranoid or delusional. The other 90% of the time, the things and accusations are being levied against housing authorities and their employees, against the work that they're doing, are actually very accurate. And housing authorities do wield a lot of power over the client because if you complain, they also have the ability to attempt to blackmail or other things if they're acting unprofessionally and try to terminate your case or violate you in many different ways. Defend yourself, guys. Please do that. If you don't know how to defend yourself, you don't know how to report the actions of these people acting in this manner, reach out to us or any qualified consultant in the nation and take some action, man. You do not want to be indentured by a housing authority or a wild actor at a housing authority that's not going to do their job properly or treat you egregiously, okay? My heart goes out to everybody that has to go through this, especially the situation that's playing out right now in the state of Arkansas. So, guys, that being said, I've got to move on to today. I got some consults I have to do with clients today around 10 a.m. For those of you that didn't enjoy the profanities, I have to tell you, tough shit. It happens. You'll just have to forgive me. It's a lot better taking some of the advice I'm giving you than to take it from people that would suggest to you that their video is going to be 3 easy tips and tricks on how to ruin your life. Okay. There's a lot of people that are party clowns for children one day, and the next day they think it's a wise idea to make videos about consulting work when they don't know or even have a fundamental understanding of any policy, procedure, federal law, or anything. And they give out this advice on YouTube in the hopes that they're going to make a few copper pennies to put in their pocket, get a little paycheck from YouTube. It's just sad, honestly. All right, I'm going to check for any other comments here. Tears, thank you for all your comments. I like somebody's participating. I know many of you are sitting quietly in the background. All right, L. Hamilton, greetings and good morning. Raceway 22, good morning. I have a contaminated apartment. HUD had me move out in the street. Well, I doubt that was HUD that had you move. Okay, guys, y'all confuse the housing authority with the HUD all the time. Christine, happening to me now. Rent increase should not have been. Yeah. I'm getting a phenomenal number of calls at our office regarding rents and miscalculations and no cooperation from the housing authority to prove in any way that they've calculated this correctly. A lot of them do not want to disclose that they're subcontracting the work, and there's no oversight over these contractors. And so you pretty much have to, well, there's legal remedies that are in place to correct that kind of behavior. But it's a sad story. I hope I don't have to make a lot more of these videos about these housing authorities, and I hope for the state of Arkansas and that housing authority that the proper people get put in place, and those that took money from all these people by dipping into that voucher fund, that they be served in a federal court. That's the way I see it, and that's the way it should go down. I've enjoyed talking with you guys, and I'm going to go on and go now. We'll see you guys again Sunday. I see one more comment. The Phenomena says, my daughter and I are still living in the car, and it is so devastating to her. She's 15. Well, Phenomena, I'm going to tell you this. There's a program called Continuum of Care, or CES. You might want to look into that or reach out to our office. It's a fairly fast way to get you off the streets if it gets you a voucher, but it depends on where you are and the facts of your case, okay? Something that we can't technically get into in a public format, but I can tell you that in most cases, if we go through CES, COC, you're probably looking at 30 to 90 days, and it's better that way than for you to continue to freeze or burn up in a car for the next year, okay? Raceway 22, yes, the housing authority, he says. All right, guys, I love y'all, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye for now.